Hi, and thank you for joining me today. I want to discuss something I was asked by a Pilates teacher the other day. She wanted to know how can we use pain as an indicator on what exercises would be useful for a client. I thought this was a great question, not easy or straightforward to answer, which is why I wanted to make this short video to help broach the subject. So, when our clients have pain, the first thing we need to understand is that pain is multifactorial. That means that there isn't only one thing which is affecting or contributing to a person's pain. If we look at the clinical definition of pain, it says pain is an unpleasant sensory and emotional experience associated with actual or potential tissue damage. Okay, so let's unpack that. What does that even mean? So, if it's an unpleasant, we know it's unpleasant, sensory or emotional experience. So, it might be something we feel physically, or it might be something we're feeling emotionally. And it's associated with actual or potential tissue damage. So, that means that sometimes pain is associated with tissue damage, but sometimes it's also not. So, that's very broad. And that lays the foundation for understanding pain. And once we know that, we can move forward. So recent clinical evidence shows us that pain is multifactorial, as I mentioned before. So there are lots of things contributing. The best way to describe this easily is using the cup of resilience analogy. So if you imagine that each person has a cup, and into that cup, we put things, life stressors. So we can put job stress or lack of sleep or poor diet or relationship troubles. We can put all of these things into the cup. Um, one tissue damage can go into the cup as well. There's going to be a moment when we add just one more thing into the cup and it overflows. So that overflowing is pain. So that's a really easy way to look at it and an easy way to explain it. So how do we deal with this when we're having pain and we're thinking of the cup analogy? We can do one of two things. We could take stuff out of the cup, right? Or we could make the cup bigger. So in order to take things out of the cup, you need to sit down and analyze all of the things that could be affecting. So is this person sleeping enough? Are they eating well? How is their job stress? Are they taking time to relax every day? Are they taking time to do things they enjoy? How are their interpersonal or family relationships? All of those things. And try to find, is there something that we can take out of the cup? Like, can you get an hour more of sleep per night? Or maybe can you take one thing off of your to-do list, which would then give you time to maybe relax or do something you enjoy? That would be taking things out of the cup. Um, and the other thing, because sometimes we can't take things out of the cup, right? Sometimes there's nothing we can really tangibly do. To make the cup bigger, we need to improve our clients' psychological resilience. So to improve your psychological resilience, one technique that we Pilates instructors are really good at is making our clients stronger, physically stronger. And while we make them physically stronger, they will become emotionally stronger and more resilient to deal with the things in their life. So something as simple as we're doing footwork and we're doing footwork on 3 springs and it's been a month. And then we decide, well, we can probably go to 4 springs now. And we give our client the option of going to 4 springs, and they do it. And we point out, look at how awesome you are. You're doing it on 4 springs. You've gotten stronger. So, us pointing it out is going to make them realize that, oh, wow, yes, I am stronger. So, they're physically getting stronger and they're emotionally also being built up. So, that's going to improve their psychological resilience. So that's how to deal with pain. Now, for the actual question of how to choose exercises. So this is a little bit tricky because usually there aren't going to be special exercises for each type of pain, contrary to what we've been taught when we studied Pilates. If your shoulder hurts, opening the chest on the ladder barrel maybe is not the best choice. So there are, I think, two ways we can choose exercises for our clients. First way is we have to become familiar with clinical guidelines. So clinical guidelines are basically documents that exist which have a summary of the best practice in each case. So for example, if we were talking about knee pain, for example, there is a clinical guideline that says what to do when knee pain. Same for if I tear my anterior cruciate ligament, there is a guideline for that. And basically, what guidelines are, they are a summary of lots and lots and lots of very high quality research. So you can be sure that when you're working with a clinical guideline, you are doing the best possible thing for your client, which is different to doing what your maybe Pilates manual says you need to do, because a lot of Pilates manuals out there aren't evidence-based and they're more anecdotal. That means they're more kind of based on what worked for one person, maybe. Um, and what worked for one person isn't necessarily what's going to work for every person, or for, I shouldn't say every, the majority of people. So if we want to do the best by the majority, what we should do is refer to clinical guidelines. So for example, if the person has knee pain, going back to the knee pain again, there's a clinical guideline that says when you have patellofemoral pain syndrome, which is basically pain in the knee, you need to start by strengthening the hip, then strengthen the knee. If the person is a runner, you'd want to check on their gait, on their cadence, so how quickly they are stepping, how many times they step per minute. You want to avoid the knees going into valgus during the stride. And there was another one which I am forgetting at this moment, but it's in the guideline, basically. So we don't guess, we don't make it up. We find it written and then we apply in order what it says to apply. So if you have knee pain, guideline-based care says start by strengthening the hip. So to strengthen the hip, then we can get creative. How are we going to strengthen the hip? Well, as Pilates instructors, we have a lot of tools. We can use the reformer or the window chair or just mat-based exercises, squats and lunges, or something that looks like a squat or a lunge will be the place to start. Then, the other thing to take into consideration when choosing exercises for our clients is what our clients think is important, because our client's expectation has a huge impact on their outcome. So again, back with the knee example, if I have a client come in and says to me, I have this knee pain and I can't go upstairs and I need to go upstairs because I live in this house that has 3 floors and I feel useless and I feel unable to go upstairs and it's really getting me down and blah, blah, blah. So I have a little light in my head saying stairs are important to this person, right? Whereas maybe another person that has knee pain, who doesn't live in a 3-story house, maybe this other person has a young kid and I have knee pain and I can't kneel on the floor to play with my kid. And that's really important to me because I feel old and unable to play with my kid. I'm only 35 and this shouldn't be a problem at this point in my life. So this other person is concerned about not being able to play with their kids. So that's what's important to them. So as you can start to imagine, what is important to each client is going to be completely different because we all have completely different situations in our life and things are, differently important, if that makes sense. So the same knee pain is going to be treated differently depending on what that client's goals are. So if your goal is to go upstairs, it's going to be very different than if your goal is to kneel on the ground. Both of them want to get out of pain, so I'm going to follow the pain guideline and I'm going to strengthen the hip, strengthen the knee, work on the gait if that's appropriate. But with first client, I am going to do things that look like climbing stairs. So I immediately think window chair, going up front, or it's also called climbing the mountain in some schools. Or I'm just going to get a box and I'm going to make that person step up and down from the box a bunch of times and gradually make it harder by making them hold something heavy while they step up and down. So basically, you simulate what it is they want to do using the Pilates equipment and what you have in your environment. That's how we will train them to be able to do what it is they want to do. It's really simple concept. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky to apply, but basically you have to think what is important to this person, right? Because expectation affects outcome. So if they expect that when they can go up the stairs, they are going to be pain-free, that is highly likely to be true. Whereas for the other person, if they expect they can kneel on the ground and enjoy playing with their kids, that's going to increase their outcome, then that's also true. So basically, find out what's important to the client, try to figure out what exercise looks like that movement, and work on that movement with them. That's all. And if there isn't any exercise that looks like that movement, you can make one up. That's where it gets really fun. This is called functional goal programming. So if your goal is to kneel on the ground, well, we have a bunch of stuff in Pilates that actually looks like that. But what I'm trying to say is you can model an exercise to look like a goal. For example, I had a client last year who had shoulder pain when she was getting the supermarket, the shopping out of her car and taking it into her house. So the first thing I said to her was, can you show me what that looks like? Because we can't guess, right, how people do things. So we asked them to show us. So she was like, yeah, okay. So I like put something on the Cadillac and I said, is this kind of the height of the back of your car? She said, yes. So I was like, okay, so show me how you do it. So she picked the thing up and then I said, and then what do? You turn and you walk. Okay. So then I'm thinking, how can I design something that looks like that we can practice here in the studio? So I took the long box, flipped it upside down, put a bunch of weights in it because she was picking up kind of a big bag. And I had her pick that up, turn around, walk with it, and set it down. And I said, can you now do this 10 times? And she did that 10 times. And each time she came to class, we would do that 10 times. And gradually, I would make it a little heavier by adding some more weight, basically increasing the challenge. This is maybe a topic for another day, but we want to over prepare our clients. So if our client wants to walk up 5 stairs, we should prepare her to walk up 20 stairs, right? So we did that. And after a short amount of time, she didn't have any problem anymore taking the stuff out of the car. So basically, I designed an exercise because I didn't find one in the studio that was similar enough to what she wanted to do. And shoulder guidelines tell us to strengthen the shoulder, so doing pushing and pulling with resistance, so springs and bands. And it doesn't really matter which exercise you choose, as long as you strengthen the muscles you want to strengthen. I hope this has helped and not made things worse. Please give me your feedback. Ask me more questions if something wasn't clear, and I'll be happy to go into it in a part 2 of this video. All right, have a good one. Bye.